everyone. In this video I want to talk to you about an area of science that really I think quite well ties to technology and engineering and what that means when you're talking about STS as well as STEM. In the first video we did, we went over those acronyms, but to remind you, STS, Science, Technology, Society, STEM is Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. STEM is sort of a key word now. It's everywhere when you go to a convention, conference from the National Science Teachers Association. Everything is STEM. But I think if you understand STS, you'll understand STEM quite well. And as we do these videos, I'm going to be making the connections over and over and over. Today's topic is an area that I find really exciting for students. It gets them actively engaged. If I could teach one part of the class of teaching that I think your students will remember you 30 years from now, it's problem-based learning. Its acronym is PBL, problem-based learning. And when you think about problem-based learning, you should think of those activities where students are doing problem solving, real-world type things. And before I just mention the activity I want you to do, I want you to read 3 articles that tie to what will be on your next discussion board. The articles are using a STEM-based approach to make recycling metallic elements relevant. This article I wrote, and it's fairly recently published in the Middle School National Science Teacher Association journal, Science Scope. I think it was October of last year maybe that it came out. And in that article and the activity is the activity we're going to do today, which is a problem-based challenge, and I'm going to get to that shortly. But also read the Parachuting Commerce activity on STEMWise, the website STEMWise, which I'll show you shortly. There is a manuscript in there that kind of describes what could be a problem-based learning scenario for students. And then there is the article that one of my favorites that I co-published, I think maybe 2011 or so, building models to better understand the importance of cost versus safety in engineering. This one would probably be, when you talk about STEM, the acronym STEM probably is the strongest of all the articles. What is engineering and how it connects to science. I like to shorten it and call it the tower building article. So if you see tower building, it ties to this article. Read these 3 articles because I'm going to have discussion board questions that tie to these 3 articles. Now, as far as the activity I want you to do, and realize what I'm trying to do is model an activity that I want you to come up with. Again, when I'm talking about problem-based learning, I'm talking about things where students are challenged to, for example, there's a nice activity called the Mousetrap Car activity where the kids make cars using mousetraps that propel a vehicle, and the challenge is to make the car that will roll the farthest or roll the fastest using mousetraps. But I want you to design your own problem-based activity at some point. That is an assignment. So I've given you 3 articles to read, and I've given you an assignment, much similar to our quality control that we did the other day, where you come up with an activity that covers the same principles as the what do we do? Spoons, the flexibility of spoons. So a little different. One is looking at doing tested measurements around things that have been manufactured. This one's actually goes a little bit beyond that, in that you're challenging your students to solve or do the. It has a little bit of competition in there, which some educators do not look favorable upon. But I think if you do competition with groups, you're okay. And what I like about problem-based learning is it can tie to a lot of national competitions that are out there, such as Brill Science Olympiad, where they do bridge building. If you look at nationally, there's a lot of different challenges. There's something called eCyber Mission. I will provide you a list of these if you want to get your students involved in these problem-solving type challenges that you can go for on the national level. And some of them can be quite lucrative as far as financial and scholarships and that sort of thing. So, the activity that comes from the STEMWise, it's on STEMWise, and I'm going to show you that shortly. It also is part of an article in ScienceScope. Basically, you need aluminum foil, and I believe in the activity it tells you to tear off a 30-centimeter sheet, two of those, two 30-centimeter sheets of aluminum foil. You need a bucket of pennies, You need a large tub, and this one actually may not be quite big enough, but a large tub. And the challenge is to make yourself an aluminum boat, and I'm not going to do it because, again, I do not like to kill students' inquiry. And this one will be a really good one for us to compare our data, so you can be the winner out there with your boats. I will say that I know I've had students get up well over 200 pennies that they were able to put in their boat. If you do a little I'm going to give you all a hint that I don't ever give my other students. If you do a little pre-research, you know that if you weigh 10 post-1982 pennies and compare it to 10 pre-1982 pennies, one set's going to weigh less than the other. So if you really want to do well at this challenge, you may want to get the lighter pennies, because the lighter pennies will enable you to put more pennies in the aluminum boats you make. So you'll have to weigh 10 of each. I'm not going to tell you which weighs more or which weighs less. So one of the importance when you're teaching this activity, one of the important things that you got to tell the students is learn from your first boat. Because what happens if you have a group of students doing this, they'll build their boats at the same time. They have two sheets of paper, they'll build them at the same time. Well, there's no learning, there's no improvement on their results. So you first make your first boat, see how many pennies it holds, and then redesign your second boat to possibly do better. Usually students do better with their second boat than their first boat. So that's your challenge. Try to make a boat that will hold the most pennies. Now when you read the article on STEMWise, the activity, there's actually two of them. There's the Parachuting Commerce is an article for you to read. On the scrap metal science, this is where the aluminum boat activity is, right here. And tower building, you can read the activity, but the article itself from the from ScienceScope is not with this for some reason. I need to get it on there, but it's not there. So the activity is for tower building, but for scrap metal science, everything is here, including the article. I'm going to put the articles on Blackboard for you to read, but you can also access them through STEMWise website. And I already gave you the address to this, STEMWise, but here's the activity. You need like 1,000 pennies. That may be a little bit of an exaggeration. You need plastic tubs. You need water, of course. You do need to a scale perhaps to weigh your pennies. There's actually some nice math that goes with this activity that can be quite complicated, but there's a rubric for putting your data in, and I expect you to do that. I expect you to complete the rubric. There's some questions that are quite thought-provoking, and it's actually got a scenario as far as transporting copper and recycling copper. All these are good questions to really make that STS, that STEM connection. If you answer all the questions, and you know, we talk about differentiated instruction. Some of these things might be for your students that get bored. because some of these questions that I designed are higher order thinking. At a minimum, I want you to design your boats and see how many pennies it will hold, but you can also weigh your pennies. You can also get the density of your boat, actually. And it's not nearly as hard as you think it is to calculate the density of the boat. So it does align with our next generation science standards. If you want to see the standards it lines up with, there it is. The article itself can be accessed on here, but I will have it on Blackboard as well. Here's the article. It's coming up. Using a STEM-based approach to recycling metallic elements relevant. This actually has some other activities in there besides the aluminum boat. October 2015, I published it in Science Scope through the National Science Teacher Association. That's it for now. Be looking on Blackboard for the discussion around these articles and around the activity. I will have a place for you to put your data on Blackboard for doing the activity. You do need a photograph with you're doing the activity, the aluminum boat activity, that you'll put on Blackboard. So, but now the discussion is going to be separate from the assignment that you submit. Anyway, that's it.